Hey there, and welcome to today's Explainer. I am so incredibly excited to have you here. As an 8th grade student, you're stepping into a level of reading and thinking that is frankly completely transformative. Today, we're focusing on an absolute powerhouse of a skill, reading for meaning. And specifically, we're going to look at making inferences using your very own background knowledge. For the next few minutes, just think of me as your personal guide. I'm going to walk you through exactly how your brain does something pretty amazing every single time you read, and how we can sharpen that skill to make you an absolute master of understanding texts. So get comfortable, get focused, and let's jump right in.
Okay, I want you to picture this. Think about a time recently when you were watching a movie or a TV show. Right before the massive plot twist, you turned to your friend and said, "Oh, I know exactly what's going to happen." And then boom, you were right. So how did you do that? You weren't psychic, right? You didn't sneak a peek at the script. What you did was make an inference. You took clues right off the screen, maybe a character gave a shifty look or there was some eerie music playing in the background, and you naturally combined those clues with your past experiences of watching similar movies to predict the outcome. You actually do this all the time, like you do it when you read a friend's mood just by the tone of their voice. You are already making inferences every single day. Today, we're just taking that natural superpower of yours and applying it directly to what you read.
All right, here is our quick roadmap for today. 1. Reading between the lines. 2. The inference equation. 3. Putting it into practice. 4. Your turn to practice. And 5. The godly learner philosophy.
Okay, let's dive right into Section 1, reading between the lines.
So we hear the phrase reading between the lines all the time. But what does it actually mean when you've got a book open in front of you? Well, an inference is basically the skill of combining clues from the text with your own lifetime of experiences, knowledge, and memories to kind of fill in the blanks. You see, when you read, you don't just bring your eyes to the page. You literally bring everything you've ever lived through. Your brain takes those text clues and mashes them up with your memories. Because without your background knowledge, the clues the author gives you, they just remain totally disconnected and confusing. But with it, you can make perfect sense of what's happening, even when the author absolutely refuses to explain it to you directly. It's like solving a puzzle.
So, what are our goals for today? First, you're going to learn how to consciously connect text clues to what you already know. Second, and this is absolutely crucial for 8th grade and beyond, we want to avoid making wild guesses. A real inference relies on accurate, relevant facts, not just making something up out of thin air. And finally, you'll see why building your overall knowledge base, learning about science, history, and culture, actually makes you a fundamentally stronger reader in the long run.
Moving right along to Section 2, the inference equation.
Before we look at the actual mechanics of how this works in your brain, let's ground our learning in truth. Proverbs 18:15 tells us, "The heart of the discerning acquires knowledge, for the ears of the wise seek it out." As a student, seeking out knowledge from school, books, and experiences, well, it isn't just a chore. It is a highly wise, God-honoring pursuit. A discerning heart actively looks for truth and understanding. The more knowledge you acquire, the wiser you become, and the better equipped you are to discern meaning, both in the text you read and in the life you live.
All right, so here is our core math problem for the day. Step 1, find the text clues. Ask yourself, what did the author actually write down? Step 2, add background knowledge. What do you already know about this topic? Step 3, solve for the inference. Add those two together, and you get the deeper meaning. It's simply text clues plus background knowledge equals inference. And let me tell you, it's an equation you're going to use for the rest of your academic life.
Let's look at this in action. Imagine our text clue is an author writing, "A red sky at dawn." From that, our inference is that a storm is coming. But wait, how do we get from that clue to that inference? The author didn't explicitly say a storm is coming. Well, the bridge connecting the clue to the inference is your outside background knowledge. Maybe you know the old weather saying, "Red sky in morning, sailors take warning." Because you brought that outside knowledge to the text, you successfully cracked the code and made the inference. Pretty cool, right?
Let's move to Section 3, putting it into practice.
Let's roll up our sleeves here and break down exactly where our background knowledge comes from. Sometimes we pull from cultural knowledge, like holidays or traditions. Other times we use cold, hard science facts to figure out a setting, and very often we just use common life experiences, the things we observe in human behavior every single day. Let's look at these categories one by one to see how they unlock meaning.
Okay, what's really interesting about this cultural aspect is that the author doesn't explicitly tell us the month or the holiday. The text simply says, "She lit a menorah in the window." But if your background knowledge tells you that a menorah is famously used during Hanukkah, you can instantly infer that the scene is taking place during the Jewish holiday season. You've established the setting, and the author didn't even have to hand it to you.
Now this perfectly illustrates the scientific side of our equation. The text clue is ice crystals formed on the inside of the window. So what science fact do you know about ice? Well, you know that ice only forms in cold temperatures, specifically at or below freezing. Therefore, your inference is that it's bitterly cold outside. A really simple science fact just painted a vivid, freezing picture of the environment right in your mind.
Let's see how our equation applies to understanding human behavior. The text clue is, he pushed the plate away after only 2 bites. Think about your own life experiences for a second. When do people push food away that quickly? Usually, it's because they're uncomfortably full, the food tastes awful, or they're emotionally upset. In the context of a story, you can strongly infer this character is upset or has lost his appetite for some reason tied to the plot. Your own life experience just helps you practically read a character's mind.
All right, Section 4, your turn to practice. I've guided you through the equation, and now it's time for you to take the wheel. I know you're totally ready for this. Here are your specific assignments to master this skill. Number 1, read a paragraph of your choice, identify 2 clues, and add your knowledge to make an inference. Number 2, go into your current reading book, find one cultural reference, and explain it. Number 3, find a passage and use a specific science or history fact to explain it. Number 4, write a sentence combining a text clue with your own life experience. And number 5, in your own words, explain why background knowledge is so important for understanding a text. Take your time with these, okay? They are the absolute building blocks of brilliant reading.
And finally, Section 5, the Godly Learner Philosophy. As we wrap up today, we really need to remember that learning isn't just about passing a test. It's about who you are becoming as a person. And this brings us to a foundational scripture for our academy. Romans 8:6-7 teaches us, "For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace." As you expand your mind and learn to read deeply, the mindset you maintain is crucial. A mind focused only on worldly, carnal things ultimately leads to destruction. But keeping your mind spiritually centered, seeking God's truth, now that brings true life and profound peace.
So the crucial point I want you to take away is this. HeroesMart Academy intentionally intertwines biblical morality directly with education. Why? Because education without morality can actually be dangerous. Think about it. If you gain knowledge without any moral grounding, it simply makes you more capable. And highly capable people without a moral compass can really hurt others. But knowledge paired with godly wisdom, that is a force for good. Intelligence should help you make wise, God-honoring choices in your life, your community, and your future. We don't just want you to be smart. We want you to be wise.
I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to carry with you throughout the rest of your day. How will you pursue academic excellence today while keeping your mind centered on God, truth, and righteous choices? As you go do your reading homework, as you make those brilliant inferences using your background knowledge, just remember that all truth belongs to God. Keep seeking it out. Keep making wise choices. You've totally got this, and I can't wait to see the incredible learner and leader you are becoming. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and happy reading.